But my friends from channels have put this here, so I'm going to have to stay put. First, it's just an absolute honor and delight to be here. Some of the senators invite me. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed the speeches ahead of mine. I hope what I have to say is interesting and helpful. But let me start just a couple more words about me. I have been coming to Nigeria for more than 10 years. And a little over 5 years ago, I moved to Nigeria. I live here full time. So I'm paid in Naira. I pay for my own car. I pay for my own housing. I have a mortgage, it's 21%. In fact, I bought property here. So the first speaker was very, very helpful for me personally. But we're all in this together. So, the title of my talk is about the need for foreign investment in Nigeria, and I hope to be able to make that case to you today. But I think even better title for my talk would be just the mathematics of Nigeria's economic and social situation. So I have slides, and I'm going to show you some numbers I think that are very important to everyone in this room, everyone in the country, to all the leaders in business and government, because it presents a set of challenges and opportunities that if we don't succeed, we're all going to rue the Nigeria not reaching its potential. So I want to start with this slide. It's a little small. I'll talk through it on that. So what this slide shows is 30 largest economies in the world. And it ranks them by the growth in population and working age population. That's why there's 2 bars for each country. And on the far right of this graph, you can't read it, but I'll tell you, there's Poland. So Poland has a situation where its population is shrinking, its working age population is shrinking, and that presents unique challenges. In the middle, there's a lot of countries where there's not much growth. I mean, global population growth has come down, so we shouldn't expect much growth. But on the far left, there's 2 bars together for the working age and the total population. What country do you think that is? Someone want to guess? Why did I bring the slide? On the far left is Nigeria. Now the interest, so it is, of the top countries, large countries, is growing the fastest in population terms, fastest in working age population. But if you look carefully at the graph, not only is it growing faster, there is a big gap between Nigeria and the next country, which is Bangladesh. We are growing by far faster than any other large country. Now, what are the implications of that? By 2050, Nigeria is projected to be the world's most third populous country. Now, if you think about this for a moment, for everyone in this room, for everyone watching, for everyone on this planet, for their entire life, there have only been 3 countries that are the most populous, which are China, India, and the United States. There's only been one change in order, which is when India's population overtook China because of the one-child policy. In your lifetime, this is going to change, and we are going to be the 3rd most populous country. As I said, that comes with great opportunity, but it also comes with great responsibility, and it also has some economic implications that we're going to talk about this morning. Now, I said before that we're growing at almost 3% population growth. We need to grow at least 5%, 6 or 7% would be better, a year to stay ahead of the population growth. If we're only growing 3% a year, we're standing still. Poverty is not declining. If we've only grown 2%, we're actually going backwards. If we've only grown 4%, we're not making much of a difference. So we need to grow at a minimum of 5%. As I said, but 6 or 7% is better. So what are the implications of that? So this graph, I don't think it came out, oh, it's a little difficult. It actually has 3 lines, and unfortunately the Nigerian line is at the bottom. So I'll step away and show you on the microphone, or this microphone in a minute. But what this shows is the gross investment level of 3 countries. So the top line is China, the middle line is India, And the bottom one, which is right here at about 15%, is Nigeria. So we all know the China growth story. I went to China the first time in 1983 as a student. I lived there for 10 years. In 1983, there was not a single private car. Within 25 years, after growing at 7 to 9%, you had 500 people lifted out of poverty, and you were the largest market for private cars, the largest producer of private cars in the world. So I've seen firsthand what can happen when you have inclusive economic development. But China invests about 45% of its GDP a year in, or has invested about 45% of its GDP. Now, some argue that's a bit too high. I think it's too high. I think sometimes the Chinese waste the resources they have. They build cities that are not used. So I don't think that's a good target for Nigeria. A better target is the second one, which is India. And another one of our distinguished speakers mentioned India. I think India is a real success story on the world stage. Again, hundreds of millions of people being lifted out of poverty. They invest around 30% of their GDP each year to drive that 6-7% growth. So that's the sort of number that Nigeria needs to invest to make sure that we get that growth. But as I said, the line that you can't see at the bottom, because it's too yellow, has us at about 15%. So our challenge is the gap between investing 15% of our economy, 15% and 30%. Now what happens when you invest 15%? 15% is barely depreciation. You're just replacing the capital you use up each year. You won't grow. And let me give you an example. How many people in this room, if you're, maybe no one wants to admit it, how many people in this room have bought a new car in 2017? I don't see many hands. I'm not surprised. I was talking to one of the MDs of the auto importers who told me the number of new cars he sold in a month was such a small number I wanted to repeat it. But Nigeria has 14 million vehicles on the road. We're not bringing any new vehicles in. We're not producing many new vehicles because of the economic recession. So in fact, our stock of trucks and automobiles is actually deteriorating because we're not investing enough in that because of that. So that's a simple example of how you need to have this investment rate of about 30% to drive economic growth. And we're well short of it. So let me relate it to a couple of other economic numbers here. And again, we chose the wrong color for sub-Saharan Africa. So let me just talk through this for a minute. The left-hand side shows growth rates in Asia, Latin America, sub-Saharan Africa. And in the last couple of years, sub-Saharan Africa has dipped, sadly. But on the right-hand side, we show it disaggregated out between different countries. And you can see there's a bar that goes negative. That's the oil-producing countries. So Angola, Nigeria, Algeria, we've all had a very difficult time economically. There's also the yellow bar, which is quite low. But the bar that I want you to focus on right now is the red bar that's quite high, which is 6% a year for the last few years. Those are the sub-Saharan African countries that do not rely on commodities. And they are growing at 6% a year. And when we look at the bad numbers for sub-Saharan Africa, the two countries that are pulling us down, one is South Africa and one is Nigeria, the giants. So they make the average pull down. Yeah. But when we look around the continent, we look at Uganda, we look at Ethiopia, we look at Cote d'Ivoire, we look at Namibia, there are countries that are doing very well, and we can do as well or better than any of these countries. We have the entrepreneurial spirit, we have the size of the market, we have the potential, and that's what we need to tap into. So there's no doubt in my mind that we can grow in an inclusive way at 6 to 8%, or better in some years, if we get the right level of